All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and we hope that you are all well and in good health. I'm Kate Bernard. I'm the Operations Manager with the Austin Music Foundation. I'm also a recording artist and songwriter, so long time been involved with AMF before I started working there as well. So great to have you all tuning in today. We're really proud to present Time to Pivot webinar, Generating Radio Interest. It's a conversation about radio promotion featuring some amazing radio hosts and music programmers from KUTX, KOOP, KAZI, and 101X. This program is a continuation of our AMF Time to Pivot series, which we launched in March in response to the cancellation of South by Southwest and the COVID-19 crisis. So for those of you who are new to AMF, we hope we've got some newbies, and obviously we love all the people, all the regulars too. Welcome. We're so happy you're here, and AMF's mission, if you're not already aware, is to strengthen, connect and advance our local music industry and community. And after nearly 2 decades, we remain one of the only nonprofit art service organizations in Austin dedicated to providing year-round music business training and professional development at no cost to you guys. Through our impact-driven programs, which include educational webinars like this and focused one-on-one mentoring, we strive to provide a better pathway to career sustainability for Austin's most talented independent music creatives. To learn more about our programs, which include educational webinars like these, I think I actually just said that. Sorry, guys. My first time hosting.
You're doing great.
So to learn more about our programs and donate, please visit the AMF website. That is brand new as well. So we just got a redesign. That is going to be austinmusicfoundation.org. And you can also sign up for our newsletter, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. A big thank you to the City of Austin Cultural Arts Division for its continued support, and to all of our amazing supporters, and of course the AMF team for your great work putting this together. Thank you, Emily, Jenny, Adrienne, all the team. Thank you as well to our moderator, also Adrienne, our amazing moderator, and panelists for your support of AMF and the music community. We're really excited about tonight and so happy that all you guys are on board. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator, Adrienne Lake. Adrienne is a music industry professional. She's worked in A&R, publicity, talent buying, marketing and music journalism in the Tucson, LA, and Austin markets. She's currently one of our amazing AMF guest consultants, and we're really grateful to have her with us involved. So I'm going to let Adrienne take it away from here. Hope you all enjoy, stay well, and yeah, we'll catch you at the end.
Thank you so much, Kate, and welcome everyone. I'm going to start out by just going through and introducing everybody real fast, and then we'll just jump into it. So we've got Max Yancy from KOOP, who is the volunteer and events coordinator, as well as a DJ. Give a wave. And then we've also got Sharon Jones, the music director of KAZI, who just celebrated 30 years with the station, which is unbelievable. Over there, we've got John Laird from 101X. He is a DJ for Homegrown, and amongst many other things, he's got a blog, Side One Track One. He's a writer. He writes for Culture Map. I mean, we could go on all day about the stuff this guy does. And in the middle on the bottom there, we've got Confucius Jones, who is the host of The Breaks on KUTX. Well, one of the hosts of The Breaks. And then we've got Rick McNulty, the KUTX music director and DJ. So that's everybody. I'm going to go around one by one so you all can just sort of fill us in on who you are and your station, and any new information that or developments that have popped up. So Max, can we start with you? Oh, you're on mute, Max. There you go.
Good start there. I'm Max. As Adrienne mentioned, I'm the volunteer events coordinator over at KOOP. I also host a Friday morning freeform music show called Channel Surfing, and I am one of the rotating hosts on Fresh from the Underground on Saturday evenings, a new and independent music focused program. The biggest development for KOOP recently is we had our fall membership drive back in September, and it was an amazing success during these tough times. It was really amazing how our supporters came through and kept us sustained through what is, a crazy time right now. So that was amazing to receive that support from the community. And yeah.
And how long have you been with KOOP?
I've been employed with KOOP for 3 years, and then I started as a DJ a couple years before that.
Gotcha. And Sharon, if you could click your mute button and let us know about KAZI and your role as music director.
All right. I'm actually also a DJ. My DJ name is
right.
Sharon J. Actually was on today at 3 p.m. to 5:30. I do artist spotlight from 4 to 5 p.m. Also do Sunday evening jazz, 5 to 8 p.m. As you said, I celebrated 30 years, and also big thing for KAZI, we are community supported, and we celebrated 38 years in August of this year. So I'm responsible for, as a music director, of creating the daytime rotation playlist, which consists of R&B, jazz, reggae, gospel, blues, Southern soul, and a little hip hop. So.
And you do play a lot of local artists. I know we've had some chats about that.
A ton of local artists. So yes, local and independent. So yeah.
Well, thank you. And John, you were at the last panel, but for people tuning in for the first time, tell us about you and what you do.
Sure. Yeah, I host 101X Homegrown on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. I've done that 5 years. January will be 5 years. And then I've been involved in radio since college as music director at the KSAU, which is in Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, which is where I grew up. But so yeah, I've been involved in radio for 15 years now, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, and then generally outside of that, just kind of a music guy. Like you said, I run a website called Side One Track One. My day job is at C3 Presents. I do a lot of writing and booking shows, and pretty much if you need me to do something, I could probably figure it out for you. And then, yeah, just one little note on Homegrown, kind of expanded a little bit this week. We're doing a little Homegrown extra weekday afternoons around 4 o'clock. Me and my buddy CJ just kind of talk it up a little bit, spread a little local love, play some music. But yeah, if you need me, I'm not that hard to find. Just hit me up.
I'm glad to hear that you're going to be featuring local artists during drive time. That's good news.
Yeah, it's fun.
So Confucius, tell us about yourself.
I'm Confucius Jones, one half of the breaks on KUTX with my co-host Fresh. Been at KUTX for almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in January.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, I know. I feel like I just got there. Also, DJ all over the city, doing different events or whoever needs me to spin. So yeah, just trying to, we just came we're still in our fall membership drive, if I'm correct. And so we're just coming from that and yeah, just, trying to just adapt to all these changes. Me and Fresh just went back to the studio recently to record the show. We were doing it through Zoom. So it's good to kind of have some sense of normalcy in that sense.
And Confucius and Fresh feature a lot of local hip hop and R&B artists via interviews and airplay, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so that's the cornerstone of the show is playing local Austin artists, emerging hip hop and R&B artists.
So Rick McNulty, tell us about you.
Golly, Adrienne. been in non-commercial radio all my life, going back to really even high school. And then when I moved to Austin in the late 90s, I eventually hooked up with Co-op Radio and did a show there for several years and worked on the programming committee there. And then KUT came calling. And so I paid my dues by doing the graveyard shift for about 7 years. And we're talking like 11 p.m. till 3 a.m. And Confucius knows what that's like, at least part of that. So I held on for dear life because I thought, man, I'd really like to work there someday, like for real. And then I got a chance. I started hosting Left of the Dial, which is our freeform show. It's 4 hours long every week, and it takes a lot out of you just to come up with 4 hours of freeform every week. And then I took over Twine Time, started doing Uptown Saturday Night, which is the same thing, just a different name, old R&B and soul. And then last August of 19, they asked me to be music director, which is as harrowing as I thought it would be, but it's really fun. And so that's why I'm at these days. We play a lot of local music. And I mean, yeah, we're attuned to just about every genre we can get our hands on.
And everybody who has heard your shows on KUTX know that you are one of those insane music historians that knows everything about everything.
Music
And
nerd.
yes, hardcore. So now everything has, of course, changed. For Rick, he got into this his position in August. So, you know, doing his job during the pandemic at this point is what he knows. But, you know, if everybody could kind of chime in and let us know how your positions have changed since all of this happened. Max?
Sure. Yeah. So as a DJ, the biggest change for me is at Co-op, we're playing it as safe as possible, and we have not reopened the station yet. So instead of going in to do my show live, I have to record my show at least 2 days in advance in this room, which is not the most fun experience, but you know, everyone's adapting these days. And on my job side, definitely the biggest thing has been kind of the evaporation of in-person events. We had a really successful 25th birthday party back at Antone's in January. We had monthly events at the Carpenter Hotel, Barrel of Fun. And that kind of all just went poof overnight. So we started trying to get in the live stream game in August. We're kind of, you know, trying to figure out that whole world right now.
And Sharon, what about you? How are things, how have they shifted for you?
For me personally, I have not done a live show except for one time when a DJ needed a little training, but we have reopened somewhat. DJs are allowed to go in and do live shows. Only one person can go in, of course, but I record all my shows from home. So that's been the most trying thing, but I'm getting used to it, just like my real job. I'm working from home. I'm a outgoing person. I thought I would hate it. Now it's like, don't take me back. But yeah, that's the most thing. And then getting all the music in the system, being at home is a little difficult, but we make it work. So
A little extra time consuming.
and yes, and that we did celebrate our 38 years. We had to do it like Facebook Live. So that was a huge change instead of having, you know, artists in a live venue. So just like everyone else, we have to be creative.
What about you, John?
Yeah, homegrown, I do at home now. Homegrown is homegrown. For me, I do it right in my office and then, you know, just send it in and that's how it is now, which is fine. It's not that huge of a deal. I know the rest of the 101X staff, many of those people are back in the studio and doing their shows, you know, live or right out of the studio. But yeah, my home office setup just has kind of worked out and there hasn't really been a real need for me to quite go back at, you know, one less person's probably not a terrible thing. But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. You know, there's a live series that goes along with Homegrown, a monthly live series, Homegrown Live. It's very creatively titled. And that's all gone. So, you know, pivoting to a lot of Zoom interviews, Zoom performances, and cut videos, send them to me. I'll figure out what to do with it. Like, there's just a lot of that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though. I think it's kind of helped some of these artists get a little bit better about communicating, setting up Zoom interviews and times, and, you know, hey, I need you to do this on your own and send it to me. I've definitely seen an uptick in that correspondence and getting that back from people, you know, because now everyone has to do it all the time. So it's not such a weird ask anymore for some of these people, which is definitely not a bad thing.
And what about you, Confucius? How have things changed?
For the majority of quarantine, me and Fresh were recording our show over Zoom with the help of Elizabeth at the station. But we also had our third annual Summer Jam show on September 17th. That show, of course, unlike the 2 years before, it was live shows, an event, showcase, whatever. But this year it was all completely interactive. We recorded and filmed with the help of KUTX, obviously, the entire show inside of a warehouse out south. And then they live streamed it on KUTX, live streamed on Facebook, and then now it's running as a rerun on PBS. The next showing is November 14th. Nice. So
November 14th?
Yeah, that's the rerun of the whole showcase. And like I said, and the KUTX, we're getting back to the station, but it's only so many people in the building at one time. We're not really interacting like that. Like, we're not bumping into each other high five, at least not that I've seen. This is the first time I've seen Rick in months, because I've seen Rick we used to come on after Rick, and now we go to the station, nobody's there. It's just pitch black. So that's the biggest change. Just not going to the station as much or seeing as many people in there, because during the daytime, like I went and did when I did the show with Lori on Tuesday, it was 1 o'clock. Still nobody in there. So I'm used to coming 1 o'clock in the afternoon and it'd be packed, people running around on both sides. So that's the biggest change.
And Rick, I know that obviously becoming music director was a big change for you. When we were chatting about it, you mentioned that it was a lot of extra emails.
Oh God, yeah. Not that it increased necessarily during the pandemic, but that was the first shock to the system. And Jeff McCord, who was our music director, warned me. He's like, you're just not going to be prepared for the sheer volume of email. And we get more email than phone calls anyway. And he was right. I mean, it went from maybe, just a regular spate of email a day to about 100. And that's just the ones that know my address, let alone the one that goes to our just generic KUTX address. So yeah, that's insanity. I had no idea.
Have you figured out some systems at this point for getting everything under control?
Yeah, we try, we have interns kind of mine the generic email address to find artists that are local and that know what we sound like. Because we'll get these crazy messages from all over the world. And it's like punk polka music or something that we've never played before, but they're like, I think this will really work for your station. Well, that's just, it's a boilerplate for them. So we have some interns going through that, because that's probably gets maybe 300 messages a day. So none of us really have time to sit through that, but that's a great job for an intern to kind of learn the ins and outs and yada, yada. So we have them search for like keywords, key phrases or whatever. But if it's an Austin band, then they move to the top and then we kind of sift through it from there.
Yeah, so if you want to learn the ins and outs of this business, interning is a great way to start. So for these questions going forward, if everybody can just chime in, if they've got something to add, and if you're too quiet, then I'll probably call on you. So why should artists be focused on radio in addition to streaming these days?
It's free, and it's in every car. It doesn't really matter an income level. Someone probably has access to a radio that works, that they put on. I don't know why you would not want to explore a completely free avenue that everyone has access to. That's cutting off a major promotional window for yourself.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that one. I was just having a conversation with Fresh about this, especially for like hip hop and R&B, that there's not as many, you know, you have us, you have like KZI, we play local hip hop and R&B, but there's not a lot of outlets for them on the radio. So anytime an artist is kind of like, well, you know, we don't submit our music because nobody listens to radio anymore. I'm like, oh, yes, they do. A lot more people than you think you do. And also as an artist, you want to have every type of promotional tool at your disposal. So that it would make sense to want to be on any radio station in Austin, especially get your music out there and heard.
Yeah, absolutely. Sharon?
And just to add, radio also streams. So, you know, we stream all over the world. So
Good point.
And if you think about it too, you know, just like, you know, one other note, like for any like large scale events in town, like South by or ACL or all that stuff, all these stations do events. And yeah, there are touring bands that are in town that end up on those events, but many of those events, and especially things that are locally done that are fueled by sponsors or whatever else, and there's music involved, it's local bands that fill out those lineups. So, you know, and you're not getting access to that stuff if you're not involved in local radio in some way or another. Like you know, it's again, it's just an avenue you're cutting yourself off from that wouldn't make any sense to do.
Absolutely. And Max, what do you look for in a great music submission?
As Rick was kind of touching on, that you actually know what KOOP is as a station, because we're a very quirky, oddball station. So if you've tuned into us twice, you heard something different each time. So you kind of know we're, you know, all over the map. And, you know, if you're familiar with our programming, that means a lot because it's so diverse, and it means you do listen and you did care enough to kind of find a show that fits your music.
And what about you, Rick?
What we look for?
Yeah, what makes a great submission? What makes a band or a song or recording stand out to you and grab your attention?
Some sort of originality. And for radio, for most radio, I think you need a hook. Some people can write decent songs, but they don't know how to write a great hook. Some people can write great hooks in their sleep. Really though, it's originality. It's something that's just, you don't want to sound just like Arctic Monkeys or whatever, Sun Volt. You gotta have a little something extra, if you will, for my taste anyway.
What about you, Confucius? What are you looking for?
Similar to what Rick said. For us, like the best way too, because we have the breaks email, and the best way as soon as you email it, you get a bounce back saying like, hey, make sure you have all your socials and all that stuff in it. So the best type of emails already have that piece in the first place. We also look for something that doesn't really sound like everything else, or somebody who at least seems to have some small type of following. We don't expect anybody to have 1,000 fans. We're somebody that's like, okay, you've been at this a little bit of time, and you know you're trying to get to that next level. So that's kind of what we look for submission wise, and just also if the song is clean, because artists like to send us dirty music all the time.
Radio edits, more important than you think. Even if it never gets played, at least you have it. And I get so much stuff all the time that I'm like, wow, thanks for all the F-bombs in that. I can't use that. For me personally, you know, my show's pretty free form. It's a specialty show. So, and it's 95, 97% Austin, some from the rest of Texas. But so, yeah, I'm just looking for, are you from Austin? That's a big one. And then sound wise, I'm pretty open to whatever you've got. I'm always happy to put anything under consideration. But like Rick said, though, like if you've got a great hook, that's certainly gonna help. But yeah, be from Austin. That's probably my number one requirement.
So, Rick, since we were talking about radio edits, I know there was an artist that I was working with who had a song, which is fantastic, but it was just too long. It wasn't, in the sweet spot in terms of length. So what is the best length? What are you looking for in terms of editing a song down to the right length, in addition to bleeping out any naughty bits?
Right. Well, okay. That artist, she's from India, right? The one you were
Como
working with?
Rebbe, yeah. Local
That's a-
label, Indian artist.
Yeah, terrific song. And it works great on a specialty show because there's really no time constraints. But for rotation, once you start going past the 5-minute mark, it better be amazing on all
Yeah.
levels.
Radiohead level.
Stevie Wonder's new single, which is 6.5 minutes, and it's all ramping up for the election, but he's Stevie Wonder. He's going to get away with that.
Yeah.
But really, we would probably prefer also a radio edit so that, if somebody doesn't care for the song, 6.5 minutes is a long time to sit with it. So I think the sweet spot for me is really 4 minutes. If you can't get a really great edit in 4 minutes, maybe you're not doing it right.
Yeah, if your song has like 3 minutes of very, very ethereal buildup, you can cut that out when you send it to me. I don't really need you swirling around on your guitar for the entire forever lead up. You can just edit that right out, because I probably will if I play the song. I'll probably do it myself.
And Sharon, what is KAZI looking for in local artists?
Well, we're different. So for me, yes, less than 5 minutes, cool, especially in daytime rotation. But our playlist, they only had to play 3 songs from my playlist. Some people play 10-minute songs. Some people play 6, 7. So what I'm looking for personally is right at 5 minutes. And I do a lot of jazz. So when I play jazz, 6.5 is great. So yeah, I agree with Rick. Well, give them a little more, 30 seconds more. So yeah, anything under 5 minutes during daytime. But on specialty shows, I've heard somebody play in a 10-minute song. So, and it works.
Yeah, I love explosions in the sky. So I've definitely played 10, 15-minute long explosion songs just because, it's 4th of July or something. I just wanted to do it. So there are exceptions.
There are exceptions, yes.
Just note that.
So let's talk about submitting music. There are a lot of different questions under that headline. People want to know how they should send it and what's the preferred format. Do we want streaming links to download, MP3 attachments? Fill us in on that.
I'll jump right in on that.
Okay.
I want an MP3 sent to my email address. I don't want any links where I have to go find it and all of this. I prefer a MP3, something simple where I can hear it. And if I like it, I'll enter it and send you an email back.
I just want to know, please put Austin in the subject line. That's my first clue that you're from there, especially like if it's sent to my 101X address, there's a lot less emails that go there, but a lot of people send stuff to my side 1 track 1 address, which is fine. It's wildly overly organized, but I also get 300-400 emails a day there. So please put Austin in the subject, and then let me know, please, what you were doing with this song. Is it out yet? Can I play it ahead of time of its official release date? Just basic information. Please let me know if there are curse words in it. That's another big one. I've certainly, I'm going to listen through it, a bunch of times, but still, sometimes you miss stuff. But yeah, just like basic info of what you would expect someone would need to know about you to play your song on the radio. That's what I'm looking for. And I guess this is going to maybe sound harsh, but I don't really care about your backstory at all until I like your music. So You want to attach a bio? Cool. I'm probably not going to read it unless I just really like what you're doing. So I don't need like an essay on anything. And like Rick said earlier, just don't even use the words, I think I would be a great fit. Just don't do that. Just send me basic info. Please say you're from Austin. Let me know what you're doing. That's all I need.
John's right. You don't want to bury the lead. If you're from Austin and you're applying to one of us to get on the radio, that's the first word out of the gate. Make sure that's happening. And secondly, I prefer a stream and a link to a wave. So I don't have to ask for the wave, but we're going to play a wave on the air. We're not going to play an MP3, ideally. So send me a link to your Bandcamp page and say, this is the song, or these are the 2 or 3 songs that we think are the best that would work for radio. And then just send me the links to the wave in the same email so I don't have to skip around as much, because with as much work we get thrown at us, so much of this stuff, you can get lost. You can have this one email like, oh yeah, I got to get back to that and ask for the wave. And by the time you get back there, you've already got 2 other bands that you're liking this. And so by then you may have forgotten, but definitely don't bury the lead. Austin, put that right up front, and then give us options, definitely options on how we want to hear it, but always provide a link to a wave if you want to get that on the radio.
Yeah, and definitely pointing out singles is great. A lot of people will send a whole album and just go, just listen to it. And it's like, well, I don't have 45 minutes to listen to it and then suggest a single that you may not agree with, that you may not even want me to play. Please just say, this is our track. This is what we're working. And we can go from there.
Would you say top 2, top 3 tracks?
I prefer 1 to start, and then we can go from there. But I mean, I definitely think there's something to sort of that traditional-ish, like almost album cycle where, hey, we've announced an album. Here is our first single off the album. You let that go for a month, and then you roll out another single, and you just kind of work it through so that there are some kind of benchmarks that people can hold on to. But for media, at least, there's that, okay, this is a highlight. We can take this and we know that this is what's being worked, and we can go from there. But yeah, like I prefer a lead single, essentially. I mean, there we go.
And is anybody wanting physical mail submissions, or is that to 1998 these days?
I'm honored by it, but I don't really do much with CDs nowadays.
Yeah, pre-pandemic, Co-op was old school and all about the physical submissions. But now that we're all pre-recording from home, we really need the WAV file, like everyone else has been saying.
And do you think that's going to stick, or do you think there'll be a shift back to send me your hard copies and your vinyl and whatnot?
Pending the very uncertain future, I would love to go back to where we can be at the mailbox in the station every day as it was before. It shows you care if you're willing to, put some postage on it and send something physical.
And what about you, Sharon? What about KAZI?
KAZI, we still get physical CD copies. I prefer email, but we still get physical copies, and we do get albums because we do a artist spotlight where we need the entire album to review for that artist. So we still get physical copies every day.
Go ahead, Rick.
Because when I took over for Jeff McCord loved physical media, loved it. Kind of a hoarder, just stacks of CDs. We're talking like years worth. And then they're just sending all this stuff. And I started reaching out to these companies saying like, hey, just send me the links. And if I want this, I'll ask you for it. And then you guys can send it over, because we're killing the planet with all this stuff that's recycling and whatnot. And also I haven't been to the office since March, so I don't know what my mail pile looks like, but I'm really not going to go through it unless Confucius knows what it looks like.
You don't want to know.
I think it's kind of dead for radio, except when you really need like the box sets or something to round out an album. Because, we'll add more than one song sometimes. But for me, man, I don't need physical media. We can get it done without it.
And we touched on this a little bit, but do you want to see an EPK, a press release for each album? I know John said that he's really just judging it based on the actual music, but I know for a lot of radio stations, they want to know the story because they want to find out how it's connected to the community or how they can relate it to something else. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of what else should be sent along? Confucius?
I can't really, it's hard to really answer because if you send something physical like a CD, I mean, granted we can play it, but if I had to guess what else I would like to see go along with it, I don't know, something innovative. Like, you know, we've had a few submissions where they'll come with like a USB drive, or they give us like, I think somebody gave us a necklace once. Yeah, so it's just stuff, I don't know. It's really hard. It's like, like, you know, we get sent books, strangely. That type of stuff, that's interesting. It's just something that helps kind of stand out. That, you know, I don't know. I also like, I'm a fan of good packaging. I'll listen to your thing if I like the cover. So, yeah.
I get that too.
Is it worthwhile to send along album artwork along with an EPK or a press release for any of you?
I'd say EPK if I had to choose.
Mm-hmm.
EPK.
Yeah. I mean, I think any asset that you feel like should be included to, you know, showcase what you're doing, you should include those things. You know, I think mainly I'm just looking for kind of the basic details to start, you know, because if I were to deep dive every single artist that gets sent to me, that's all I would ever do. I would never have time for anything else. That this is a part-time job. So, you know, so it's like, I think you just start with those basic, here's what I have, here's what I'm working, point me in the right direction. And then if we get off and running on something, you know, kind of like the stuff I said earlier, like Homegrown Live or other stuff, maybe the station's looking for bands, then I can go back and reference those things and go, oh yeah, you do have this going on, or you're really into this, or your live show features a 40-piece orchestra or something. You know what I mean? Like, it is good to have that stuff, but just for the genesis of, you know, you making it on the show or whatever, like I just really need the condensed version. But I would still include that stuff, you know, just as an attachment or a link or whatever. It certainly isn't going to hurt.
Yeah, I always felt like when I was a festival programmer and a talent buyer, I liked to have a really concise, short paragraph with all those hooks that I need to know about, anything that's going to grab my attention. And then once my attention's been grabbed and I want to dig deeper, I want to see all those links at the bottom of the email so I can go, ooh, the bio, ooh, the EPK, oh, here's the Bandcamp link, you know, here's the album artwork link, you know, whatever you've got. So it's just really concise, and you make it easy for the person getting the email to get all the information that they need, but they're not being bombarded with it right off the bat.
Yeah.
I think, Rick, you said something along the lines of, you've got, what was it, 10 seconds to get somebody's attention in an email. And you need to think about it that way when you're constructing an outreach email to somebody at a radio station.
Yeah, you don't have to give us the whole history of the band in that first paragraph. Hell, it doesn't even need to be a paragraph. Save that for the end, because, you know, if we really like you, we will go seek that out and we'll find out what else you have to say. But don't, I would say, err on the side of brevity. This is our new single. We've been around for 3 years, blah, blah, blah. We're here in Austin. Bang. That's all I need to know to go on. And then, you know, this has happened frequently. I'm like, God, this is a great song. So who are these guys? I don't want to know who you are until I hear the song, really, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because it saves me a lot of time on the back end.
And what about streaming stats? Is that something that you all want to see up front?
Not really.
It's of no consequence to me. If I like your music, I'm going to put you in the show. I could be the first one to listen to it ever, and that wouldn't make any difference to me. I mean, part of this is playing brand new artists, so everyone has to start somewhere, which is zero. Doesn't bother me.
It's like Sharon was thinking the same thing.
Oh yeah, we don't. If we like it, we'll play it. Like you said, if we're the first one to play it. I really don't care if you have 1 million listeners or whatever.
Yeah.
Same.
I said this on the last panel. Frankly, part of what I've tried to do on Homegrown is all very new, like fresh stuff. So I'm happy to premiere songs. That's an extra promotional draw for me if I'm the first one to play something. So yeah, I don't need a set number of anything.
And for what it's worth, last year when we added Dayglow, there was nothing about the streaming numbers, but we knew this is a guy based here in Austin, and we liked it. We thought, this is great. So we went on to Spotify to see what his, just to see what other songs he had on there. He had 100 million streams. And that that had nothing to do with why we added it, but it did make us do a double take. Like, oh, okay, all right. Then
that's probably how we got on the Austin City Limits lineup.
Probably, yeah. But he's also quite talented.
Yeah, very talented. And so in terms of submitting the package, the information, the email, everything, is it best to contact individual DJs or just submit directly through the station's general email address?
I'll be honest, me and Fresh do not like when people email stuff directly to Matt. Like Matt Riley at KUTX, because then when he emails it to us, we feel a little more pressure to have to kind of like it. It's like, is he saying he likes it, or is he sending it to us? But we prefer the direct route because it seems a little bit more sincere. I want to say it's not nothing against the artist, but it seems like, okay, you did the time, your research to find the right email to send to directly contact us because your song would fit the format of our show. Sometimes we get emails that are like the BCC is not working, so you see everybody they sent it to, and it's like, okay. But we prefer, and myself prefer, music directly being emailed to us.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend knowing your outlet. If it's a station with a bunch of specialty shows, go find the ones that fit what you're doing, and if it's whatever may be going on. And if there's a jock there that plays a lot of, that's kind of more in line with what you're doing, go find that stuff out. You're going to get a better chance of a response if you actually send it to someone that you're in their wheelhouse. If you just are using generic addresses and sending it to everyone, you're not going to get a lot of responses back. You're doing more harm than good with like a scatter shot. I guess maybe, quality over quantity. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, when I speak with artists, I always tell them, even though it seems like extra work, if you take the time to research and find out who's doing what, that is time well spent. And Max, I'm sure you've got a few things to chime in there.
Yeah, Co-op is just full of niche shows. We've got like a polka show, an experimental music show, a black metal show. So especially with Co-op, it's definitely finding the show that fits you that's going to get the most attention. But we do suggest all local artists also submit to our local music at koop.org address.
So
Eric said, by the way, just real quick, like the generic KUTX address probably has an intern looking at it. Do you really want that decision made by them? And they may be forwarding it along just based on it saying Austin or whatever, but you're adding more middlemen in between that you're depending on to help you out, which I would not recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question that we have, and by the way, these are all questions that were sent in from viewers. How much lead time do you usually need for an album or a single release? And I know that can vary a little bit from station to station, So if everybody could chime in and let us know, starting with Sharon.
What kind of leeway of what was that?
How much lead time do you need? So like, say, for example, an artist has an album or a single coming out. How far ahead of time do you want them to get this to you to ensure that it's being played by that release date?
2 weeks is good enough for us. I mean, I get music in pretty quickly. And DJs there get music in, you know, if their show. 2 weeks is plenty of time. I mean, local artists, I had a person send me a song one day. I got it in the system and it was playing the same day. So if I really like it,
That's impressive.
a couple of hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I know that it's definitely a different story at other stations like KUTX. Rick, what do you have to say about this?
Really, as far as lead up or lead time, that's mainly for like nationally established acts for us. If it's local, hell, it could be a few months old. It could be as early, you know, we'll go back. The timing's not really important to us for local artists because we want to support them. It's not like there's an album cycle we have to support unless they're already at the level of like Black Pumas, like they're nationally known. So for us, for local music, lead time doesn't really matter. It's more of a national consideration.
Okay. And John, same for you?
Yeah, I'm not all that concerned with lead time. It really just kind of depends on what you're trying to do. You know, if your song is officially out a certain date, but you want me to quote unquote leak it, premiere it beforehand, I'm happy to do that. But, you know, you should coordinate that schedule to match up with that. You know, like this past weekend, I, played a Dossie song that's not out till later this week. So, it just kind of really depends on what you want to do and how much lead time you need to help me incorporate that, into if it, it's going to end up on the show or whatever. So, I would just kind of keep that stuff under consideration. I had a band hit me up on Sunday, like, right before the shows started, that was like, would love for you to play this tonight. And it's like, that's cutting it a little too close. You should definitely plan a little bit further ahead than right before. But yeah, otherwise it really, for me, there's not a real set time. It just kind of depends on what the artist is looking for.
So I know it sounds like the general consensus is that with local music, the time frame isn't as important, but to an artist that has a record release coming up and they want to make sure that it's getting on the airwaves before or the day of the release, what would you all recommend to them?
2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah,
Sure.
I would let me know about your record release or whatever. If it's a live show, an event, I would do that very early because, there's a chance that I might want to jump on as a promotional sponsor or that I can help you do this or that. And so I would do that well in advance, a month, 2 months. The further the lead time, it doesn't hurt when it comes to an event. But then again, I work in event marketing. So for me, I'm like, please promote your events 3 months in advance. So, but yeah, for me, I definitely like a good chunk of lead time on an event. Music wise, it's a lot different.
And what about you, Confucius?
I was just about to say, yeah, the more time, the merrier. Especially if it's something that you want to kind of, collaborate on. Like a lot of artists, they'll hit us up saying, hey, I have a release party. Can KTX be involved? The answer is always no. But the more time, the merrier. But at least helps us kind of give it time to promote it as well. If it's an event we want to support, an event like we want to be a part of, then yeah, we want to be able to throw as much of our voice behind it as we can, with enough time to get people, to get there, make plans for it. But yeah, the more time the merrier. I'm like Rick said, like 2 or 3 weeks at the minimum. I'm good.
And Max, any thoughts?
Yeah, at Co-op, all of our DJs are volunteers doing this with their free time. So as much leeway as you can give contact time for stuff that's time sensitive, please keep that in mind.
So yeah, in the same line of questioning here, once an artist has submitted and say they haven't heard back, what should be the follow-up protocol for artists?
I would say just keep trying. I hate to be that guy, but we're not always obligated to respond to every email. Some of us get a lot of emails. I know me and Fresh get a lot of emails, and our bounce back does say like, hey, we might not respond to this one, but if we like it, we'll respond to it if we need more information, or just tune in on Saturday and hear the show. But yeah, no, no.
I 100% agree. I've had a bunch of artists in Homegrown. I did not like their first few singles, and then it comes along and it works, and I'm like into it, and it's in the show. That's why you're submitting music for consideration. I'm going to consider playing it on Homegrown, which sounds so harsh. It sounds so mean, but it's not meant to be. But I'm not going to respond to you either if you don't make the show, because you're going to respond back with why or whatever else. And then we're 40 emails in with me trying to explain to you that I don't like what you're doing or something. And that's just insane. So that's never going to happen. If you're in the show, you will be tagged in social media. And there we go. We're off and running. But yeah, it's keep trying. I might not like the first 14,000 songs you send, but 14,001 might work. You just never know. Like, you're working it. So keep working it, and I'll keep listening, and maybe it lands in the show sometime. But yeah, like, don't give up. Don't take it personally. Just keep trucking and, work your contacts, work everybody, do your homework and see what happens. But yeah, like, just don't expect a response and all of that stuff all the time. That's just not even feasible in any way.
So maybe the best approach is to, once you've emailed, follow up, but maybe follow up with new information, and this is our video is coming out on this date. So that way, Rick and Sharon and Max and everybody, they aren't just getting the same email over and over again saying what's going on.
Yeah, if you email me, a week in advance of your song coming out, it's okay to email the day it comes out and go, hey, just bumping this to the top. It's officially out. Thanks. I literally have someone who's emailed me almost every day for the last 2 weeks. And I'm just like, what do you want me to tell you or do? I mean, just ease up, it's just the game. It's the business. It just is what it is. It's nothing personal or weird or.
Yeah, one of the artists. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I say, okay, you've emailed me once. If you don't hear back from me, okay, I can see two, but don't keep emailing me about the same thing 3-4 times. Have you had a chance to listen to it? Or, we just don't have enough time to respond to every song that somebody submit.
That's impossible. One of the artists that was featured on our Summer Jam showcase, Chief Cleopatra, she'd been sending us stuff since almost we started the breaks. Never say anything back to her. And she thought we didn't like her, but we had to explain to her, like, no, we just don't answer every email. But she finally sent a song. We thank you. And she finally sent a song and, got on they play in the daytime now. So like, it just comes down to persistence and just not being pestering. Like, just send a song. So you can do the same format from the last one. Just make the song different. It's fine. Just don't be the person like, let's do it. Like, no. My ears are getting more deaf with each email. No.
Rick, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I like what John was saying is, like, first off, don't take it personally. If we haven't responded or if we haven't, put it in a meeting or whatever, don't take it personally, because you have to remember the sheer volume of noise we have coming our way. And it's just like, it's a flood, a torrent, and you're just trying to grab a few things. And there's no shame in following up. But like Sharon says, you don't want to keep following up on the same thing. If the gentle reminder is helpful. Like, oh yeah, I wanted to check this out. You go and check it out. I would like to send a response saying like, hey, this is a pass for us, but keep sending us stuff as it comes up. But sometimes I don't even get around to do that. So don't take that personally, mainly.
Yeah, I think it's important for folks to know that the people who have chosen to work in the music business, in radio and booking, et cetera, we're doing this because we love music. We're not doing this because this is a job that we can go to, clock in and clock out, and then we're done. This is all the time. And there are, we really do have to be able to go home and eat dinner. And the sheer volume of emails that comes into people like us working in the industry is overwhelming. So yeah, it's so important to not take that personally.
Yeah. Also, I'm rooting for you. If I get an email with Austin in it or a band that's emailed me a million times, I hope that I'm like, this might be the one. I'm not like, oh, great, delete. No, I'm going to listen and go, maybe this is it. And sometimes it just isn't. Yeah.
What about you, Max?
I agree with what everyone's been saying, and I will say, just give me a few days with it. Don't follow up the next day asking if I listened to the track yet when you email me. Yeah.
Good enough. So going into the Q&A portion here, right on time. Do any of you use services like Play MPE or other music distribution services to find new music?
Yes.
Sharon's nodding.
Yeah, it's especially because we'll get record promoters sending us links to they'll just say it's on Play MPE, and it's kind of a one-stop shop. But we also use All Access, whatever. Anything is helpful, really.
Are you going to say something, Sharon?
No, I was same here. We use Play Me, DigiWax, and like he said, I get it in my email saying Play Me, DigiWax. It's a lot of them out there. So yes, we do use them.
And does that go for the rest of you as well?
Co-op doesn't really use Play MP much. It'll go to our music librarian and a volunteer like most everyone at Co-op. So some stuff can fall through the cracks that way. So we typically like more personal reach outs for new music.
Yeah, most of my stuff is direct from PR agents or labels or whatever else. But yeah, I like Kirk, Sharon, I get a million links to a million different things. So I just follow the links.
And do any of you work with paid radio promoters?
Say that a different way.
The way the question was worded was, how often do you work with paid radio promoters? Is this common?
Oh,
I assume that they mean like someone.
That's probably more for commercial.
Someone who hired a radio promo person.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of mine seem to be kind of like, I guess because I've had a website for so long, so a lot of them come through that are just like new media, I guess, press releases. But I mean, when I was in college, radio promoters all day, every day. I know Lynn, the program director at 101X, has plenty that hit him up about, service and releases and things like that. So yeah, definitely.
I definitely work with a lot of them. And some of them are much better than others at their job. And one of the tells for me, when you can tell somebody's really good at it, is they reach out frequently. They talk to you on the phone. It's not just an email. At first, pre-pandemic, I'd get so many calls in a given week. After the pandemic, a lot of people went straight to email, but the really good ones stayed with the phone because there's just something about that personal contact, and they tended to have the most success at it. And then I felt like, well, I have to have an answer for them next time they call too. So it was effective. And for a band that's maybe on the verge or has a little bit of scratch, I would highly recommend a radio promo or record promo person.
Those people often are the ones who know like station history, market history for that station too, the specialty shows, the contacts, so there's definitely value there. But I agree with Kirk. Like, I think that's kind of for a band on maybe the precipice. If you're just starting out, I don't know if you're going to see a lot of mileage from that. But if you've got some stuff going for you and you do have some extra cash, it is a great way to try to get some extra radio play for sure.
And I'm just going to take an educated guess that the folks at Co-op are not working with paid radio promoters.
Not really, but they do reach out sometimes.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, we get a lot of calls from people who really, aren't sure what a community radio station is.
Mm-hmm. Well, community radio station is, there's all different kinds. We've got 3 different kinds represented right here. So,
yeah, I can probably sympathize. We probably have like 30% news and public affairs programs, so we're not even 100% music to begin with.
Mm-hmm. So what would be your advice for DIY artists without representation?
Get it till you need it.
What was that?
So don't get it till you need it.
Oh.
A lot of artists, try to, get representation and management or everything of that sort right way before they're ready.
Yeah.
Which kind of muddies the waters and complicates the process. We're trying to, get in contact with us or organize something with us, but it's not like we require it. You don't need to have representation in order to get your music played if it's good, but yeah.
I would say if you're DIY, just do your homework and understand what you're submitting and who you're submitting it to, and understand the process, understand what may happen or what may not happen, and then just keep working. And in my opinion, if you're truly awful at something, hire someone to do it. So if you're just woeful at PR for your band or whatever else, find somebody who's hungry to do that for you and go that route. But yeah, if you're DIY and you're doing it yourself, just do your homework and just understand what may or may not happen.
Yeah, it is extra legwork, but unless you've got a lot of cash laying around to pay somebody to do it, that's part of the job. And also it's a really great way to learn, and it's a really great way to create relationships too, which is, that's everything in this business. Anybody else, Max or Sharon, want to chime in on any advice for DIY artists?
No, just be earnest and reach out and, check out our schedule and find where you fit.
So an artist was asking, if I see you at an event, is it okay to pitch to you, or is that not appropriate?
Depending on the event, as long as I'm not sitting there with my family eating.
Say, I think they're probably thinking a concert.
I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm used to it at this point. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always going to want to hear the music first before I do anything, commit to anything. So, I mean, I'm always happy to say hi and hang out for a minute or whatever. And you can say what you've got going on, but I'm still going to need to hear the music. So, but I mean, say hi though. Why not?
Yeah, flatter me. That's step number 1. And then number 2 is just like, hey, I'm going to send you an email, not over the weekend, but on Monday or next week. And I'll say this to you, and you really should check out this band. That's all I need. Flatter me and just send me. I'm not going to take your demo tape. I guess we don't do tapes anymore, but or your card. That's meaningless to me until I actually hear the music. And I don't want to hear that until a weekday.
I definitely take free drinks as well.
That's flattery.
And what about you, Sharon?
100% agree with Rick.
Flattery. The way to share.
Yeah,
It's you everywhere.
So
I
I don't want you to see me or anything like that on the spot. So
What was that, John?
I was said, after 30 years in the business, everyone should only be flattering you at this point. You should
Right.
get nothing else. Nothing else should happen.
So here's another one. I have an album coming out and want to plan for a radio campaign. How long do radio campaigns usually last?
Actually, don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's gonna, if they're, I assume that they mean like a national radio campaign. And if that's the case, then you're gonna need a whole like PR team, and a radio person will just be one component of that. So you should probably figure out how long your album cycle is going to be, how many singles you're going to do, how you're going to support it. I mean, you have about 1 million other questions to answer alongside that one. Good luck.
If I didn't do a huge publicity push for the release, can I still submit my song to radio? And does it matter if the song has been available online for 6 months or longer? It sounds like from what we were saying before, that's fine. And would you, I guess my question is, would you say that that has shifted during the pandemic? Because obviously there's a lot more flexibility with time these days. So yeah, how important is the timing, and have things shifted in terms of timing since the pandemic started?
For me, I get that you want it current and all that, but again, this is not just local artists, but national artists. If we discover something that's a year old or maybe a year and a half, we don't really care. If we think this is great and it hasn't been played in, on the radio in Austin, we'll play it. And so if it's already been online for 6 months, has no bearing. And I don't know that the pandemic has changed that, other than it's made it harder for artists to release stuff or to promote it. So if they're worried about like, well, man, I put this out in May and nobody could go out, still send it to us. We'll definitely listen. We'll give it a shot.
I would say too, if you're worried about it, plan something around it. Make it feel like a re-release. Do a live stream show or put a video out for it, even if it's a DIY on your phone kind of thing. Like if you're worried about giving it kind of another new status, then just do something else with it, But I'm with Rick. I'm happy to listen to whatever. I certainly miss things frequently. So
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a great idea.
time
Yeah,
really
Sharon?
isn't a big factor with KAZI, except for the daytime rotation playlist, which is new music. But other than that, to put it in rotation, there's no time limit.
I will say too, just a quick note. I used to sit outside when I worked full time at what was in Miss Austin Radio then. Now it's Waterloo Media. But I used to sit right outside Lynn Barstow's door. Again, he's the program director at 101X, and there would be radio reps in there, label reps in there, working songs that like I had shared on Side One, Track One a year before that. Like sometimes stuff just goes in the system and it works its way through and gains steam other places, and then finally ends up where it seemed like maybe it should have been forever ago, but that's the biz. Sometimes things just take some time.
Yeah, think of David Bowie, Space Oddity. They released it as a single in the US, I think in like 69. It wasn't a hit until 72. This stuff happens. Stuff just, you just can't grab it all. And sometimes the timing is better a little bit later, but that's what I always say. Think
I
of
can
Bowie.
guarantee you David Bowie did not email the stations every day, I promise.
What about you, Max? Any thoughts?
I'm happy to play new music or old music. Send it over.
Do you have recommendations for artists whose music generally isn't considered radio friendly, i.e. classical, jazz, flamenco, experimental, other music with extended structures?
Yeah, I'd say check out KOOP. We have lots of traditional non-radio friendly programming, and if you have a niche genre of music, I bet there's a good chance at least one of our shows plays it.
I was just shocked that jazz was in that question.
Just
Yeah,
to get
class.
back to doing your homework. You know, if you have kind of a niche genre, find out where that gets played on the radio, and then seek that out. You're probably not going to make rotation in a regular thing, but who knows? But find out who's playing that and go for it.
Yeah, because there's an online radio station for everything. How do you find a station to submit to, especially when your music doesn't clearly fall in existing genres or established radio niches? That's kind of along the same lines here. I guess the simple answer is, yeah, do your homework, study, research. We've got radio stations like KOOP that has, they have a bunch of different specialty shows. There are specialty shows all over streaming radio. Another option is, you can work with whatever genre you're working with and turn it into a radio friendly song. I mean, there's all kinds of situations where somebody broke radio doing something unique, and it's because they took influences of different genres and made it radio friendly. And so I think those are really the two options. Does anybody have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree. And like we said earlier, just do your homework and find people that might be open to what you're doing.
Yeah, if it's pretty niche, check out Left of the Dial, 92 and below. There's always some weird stuff down there.
But you can always Google, like radio stations, Austin. There are sites out there that list, every single station in town. Click them all open and go take a look. Most have specialty shows. Most have, you might have a jock on there that randomly hosts some jazz night somewhere, even though they're on a rock station. Like, it's just digging.
So this is a good question. Do you consider bands for radio play that do not play out live?
Steely Dan. The Beatles. I mean, yeah, they don't have to play out live. We don't give a crap. If it's a good song, it's a good song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to just listen to the music and spread the music. That's kind of the main goal. Now, I certainly do have a live series and other stuff, so I'll be disappointed if you're like, oh, I don't play, but it's not the end of the world.
Sharon,
what Rick
thoughts?
said.
Same thing. We don't care. We'll play it.
So what email subject line grabs your attention? That is a good question, because I personally have experimented with this a lot, and I've found that subject headlines can really make a difference. So what is your input there?
Austin.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want.
Yeah, because your eyes will immediately be attracted to it as opposed to Belgian artist, whatever. Just give us Austin artist.
Yep.
Yeah, or if you want to lead with a subject line, you had a great show last week. I'd be down for that.
Flattery.
That's
Flattery.
true. Okay, so flattery and local. So will you play interesting covers ever, or just original music?
Yeah, I played a cover of like Avril Lavigne's "Complicated" the other week. It was on some random compilation put together by Daphne Tunes, a local band, and it was great. So I put it in the show. Like, yeah, always.
Yeah, we have cover weekends. We've done that. There's no shame in covers, but just don't do a faithful cover, because that's not interesting.
That's boring.
Give us something different. Like Sharon Jones, of course, she's not the other Sharon Jones. They just released,
And the Dap King.
yeah, they just released their version of Prince's "Take Me With You" on this new compilation of covers of Sharon Jones stuff, and it turns the song on its head. And we're like, let's put this in rotation. It's just that good. But if it was just, you know, the exact same version, that's of little interest to anyone.
So what does it take to get into regular rotation? Like, for example, an artist might reach out because they have a record release and they might get played as, you know, artist of the day, song of the day, et cetera, but in terms of getting airplay on a reoccurring basis, how does that work?
My simple answer is talk to Rick.
And mine would be talk to Lynn Barstow.
The short answer is it's difficult. You do have a leg up if you're an Austin artist, because we will cut you more slack, if you will. I'm just looking at our rotation right now. We've got 26 bands, local artists, in rotation right now out of 29 songs. Like, we have 2 Jackie Vincent songs right now, 2 Black Pumas, 2 Jay Weil. But it's not easy getting in, because like every other band, you've got to basically pass our Supreme Court of 9 people. We don't pack the courts at KUTX. It's a wide variety of differing opinions.
I call them the Jedi Council.
Jedi Council. And it takes a majority vote for it to make rotation. And some great songs, or I'll bring in songs I think like, man, this is awesome. It'll get like 2 or 3 votes. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? But we can't rule by fiat. We actually have kind of a democracy in that regard. So again, never take it personally that you didn't make rotation, but we do give you a special dispensation if you're an Austin artist.
So it sounds like KUTX does things differently than Co-op, KAZI, and Homegrown, where it sounds like it's, you know, just one or maybe one person who is vetting music for their own program. Is that accurate, or is there anything else that any of you want to add?
I think Lynn can
KAZI.
Oh, go ahead, Sharon.
For KAZI, for daily rotation, that comes through me, but I get suggestions from other genres. So there are a lot of different DJs who put in their bid for a song. And I'm not the end all be all. You know, I put stuff on there that I didn't care for. So we have a lot of DJs that are rooting for different genres. So it's probably easier for it to be in rotation at KAZI, because we do have so many different shows and so many different DJs. So
yeah, at Co-op, we don't have a traditional rotation. All of our DJs are 100% independent. But if you want to make it into our after hours mix, that's 100% local.
And Rick or Confucius, can you fill us in on KUTX's HD2 channel? Because that's a channel with all local artists.
True.
So how does the vetting system work for the HD2 channel?
Deidre Gott, who's also our live music booker, is in charge of the HD2 channel. So we stream all Austin artists at KUTX.org. And this is also the feed that goes to the airport that plays out there, which is kind of funny because I've heard stuff like that. And I go, well, how do they know about this? Oh, right. She will, like, stuff that may not make rotation, she will add that to that stream. And in fact, there's stuff that doesn't make rotation that we'll still add to our system so that DJs can play it. They can play songs by artists that don't make rotation. We have a little category for them, just like any other category, but it's in our rotation itself so that it will get played. But she's probably kind of on the down low. It's probably not well known enough, but I think there is a separate submission for Austin for her, or we do contact each other and say like, hey, have you heard this? This would be great for it. But yeah, I would look up Deidre and maybe reach out to her as well, just for the HD2. And then she also will vet it and say like, we got to bring this into a meeting.
I love that HD2 channel. It's fantastic. And, you know, as somebody who was a talent buyer, being able to listen to all local music all the time that's already been vetted is fantastic. So if anybody hasn't heard the HD2 channel for KUTX, I highly recommend it. It's all over the place in terms of genre, and there's old stuff and there's brand new stuff.
True. Yeah, we try to mix it up.
So this is a good question, and it probably varies from station to station, but once you get a single into rotation, and it's doing well, how long do you keep it in rotation?
I guess I should answer this. We'll keep it in there as long until we get sick of it, really. We don't have a set number. Let me take a quick look here. Like right now, Crumbin, and this is their third, I think it's the third song we've added out of 4. It's gotten played 185 times since May. That's a lot, but that's still only roughly like 12, 13 times a week because we pair it with another song of theirs. There's really no shelf life as long as we still like it. And a lot of this depends on our disc jockeys because they'll come and say like, I am so tired of this song, please, please. And then we might bump it to, instead of heavy, to medium or to light.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they have a show coming up, we won't bump it, we'll leave it in there or maybe bump it up. There's a lot of factors in there, but there's no given shelf life.
What about you, Sharon? What's it like over at KAZI?
There's no time limit, only for the, and I can't even really say for the daytime playlist that lasts for a month, but it really is what the DJs want to play. I mean, if a DJ like it, they can play it however many times they, well, not in their, just that limited show, but yeah, there's no time limit on it. But to be on the daytime rotation playlist, that's for a month. It changes every month.
And what about homegrown, John?
Yeah, if it's have not played it in the show before, I leave it in for 2 to 3 weeks and then rotate it out. Most bands either put out another single by then, so I just kind of skip along with their cycle of singles, or I just move on to something else. I'm a enormous new music person, so you know, I cycle through things like super fast. If you're in the show for 2 weeks, then that means I really like you. But yeah, pretty much anything new in the show is there 2 or 3 weeks, and then I just move on to something else.
And how does it work on the breaks?
It depends. If it's a national artist, we're probably keeping rotation maybe about a month or so until we move on. But if it's a local artist, we kind of keep the rotation as long as we can. There's singles that we still play from artists that put out projects almost 2 years ago, just because they're local. You know, just trying to help keep giving them that push and, you know, and keep them out there. But there's really no specific time to get it out of rotation. Then also on my Sunday show, you know, there's local music that we try to push that we, you know, that we're champions over, that we like, that is now been put into the system, that we're trying to play and get some daytime exposure as well.
And Max, with co-op, I'm guessing it's just kind of anything goes. It's up to the whim of each DJ.
Yeah, but our after hours mix is, once it's in there, we try and use like kind of scheduling software to keep everything as random as possible and cycle things out. So once you made it in there, you'll at least get back every so often.
So here's an interesting question. You know, before we were talking about radio promoters, and Rick saying that the best ones call. So that inspired the question, instead of emailing you music, do you recommend calling first?
You need my personal cell, so I would just email.
Yeah, if you've never submitted before, and if we don't have any sort of relationship, email me first. I think a cold call would be really awkward. It's different when it's somebody I already have a relationship with, like a radio promo person.
Mm-hmm.
But really, if I do take the call and we're talking, all I can tell you is like the best answer is like, I'll listen to it.
Right.
And if it works, we'll bring it into a meeting and go from there. Or, you know, if it doesn't, we can still maybe do a song of the day or something. But yeah, you just kind of blew my mind having a Lotus call.
I probably wouldn't answer, to be honest. I'd be like, I don't know this number.
Right.
So yeah, let's stick with emails. So here's a question kind of about what it means to be an Austin band, because there was obviously a lot of emphasis put on that in terms of reaching you all. So for those of us who have an Austin state of mind but can't live there but are just a few hours away, do we still qualify to submit to an Austin radio station?
Yeah, I mean, Homegrown is Austin plus Texas. It's like I said, 95% Austin, but you know, I still play bands from like Houston or, you know, Denton or wherever. Like that stuff still makes it in. It's just, I get a lot less of that than I do because there are a zillion bands in Austin. But yeah, I definitely consider that stuff.
Yeah, I do. We go by Central Texas. That's we kind of round up. If you say, "Oh, I'm from Bastrop," I'm like, "Okay, yeah, Austin." But we put special emphasis on the specific Austin and Central Texas artists, and we play them on the show. But if it's like somebody from Houston, then we just kind of throw them in with the other songs and don't really say like, "Hey, this is Houston artist." Just more like, yeah, whatever.
And this particular person who asked this question, they live in a semi-rural area outside of Austin. And I think it's probably generally understood that these days it's very expensive for musicians to live in Austin. So if you live close by, but not in Austin proper, it seems like the general consensus is that you'll still be welcomed.
Oh, sure. I mean, Dripping Springs or Bastrop, or we added Lomelda from Silsbee, Texas, and kind of considered it a sort of Central Texas artist. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just hammer home any connection you have to Austin or Central Texas. That's my way.
A lot of bands live in Lockhart now. I can play tons of stuff from Lockhart.
Yeah. I think of them as like suburbs of Austin.
Yeah.
It's part of Austin lands. Like in Chicago, you call it Chicagoland. It's Austin land.
Greater Austin area.
Like Confucius said, Central Texas. It's fine.
Exactly.
So one last question. We kind of flew through these, but it's a fun last question. So the holidays are coming up. How does everybody feel about Christmas music? Holiday music?
My wife's gonna kill me, but I hate Christmas music. She loves it.
Molly Birch put out a really great Christmas album.
Oh, Molly's album was great.
I just want to at least promote that. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to say I'm speaking for everyone, but mainly for me, my tolerance only goes like to a certain level, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. So yeah.
Well, KAZI, I love it. We have Christmas shows. I personally do a Christmas show. And there are several DJs there that do Christmas shows. So KAZI, I love the Christmas music.
Yeah, I'll personally be doing a Christmas show this year, but I do acknowledge that there's a lot of bad Christmas music out there.
The kind my wife likes.
KUTX has it for about 4 days straight so that we can all take the holidays off. But thankfully, Susan Castle programs all of that. So if you have a Christmas song or a Hanukkah song that you want to get on the radio, hit up Susan. Thank you. Because I can't stand it.
Like Kurt said earlier, like if you're going to do some Christmas songs, some Christmas covers, put your twist on them. Don't send me Silent Night the way it's been done 4 million times. Like, I'm just deleting that immediately. That's where my tolerance evaporates. It's like, send me something fun and new, different take. Otherwise, it's okay. You can keep it.
Well, thank you so much to everybody. Were there any last words, Jerry Springer, final thoughts? Anything you want to convey to the people?
I said this on the last panel, and I'm going to keep saying it till I fade away from this earth. Promote being promoted. If you make it on the show, if you make it on a station, if you make it on just the socials, if you hear your name mumbled somewhere by any member of media, anything, share it, promote it, make a thing out of it. It like, just trust me, it just makes a world of a difference in everything. Like, I like seeing people sitting in their cars listening to themselves on the radio or sharing it. Like, promote being promoted. It's important.
What about you, Max?
I'll put on my volunteer coordinator hat here. We have an orientation tomorrow evening at 6:30. Shoot me an email at max@coop.org if you want to get involved and eventually become a DJ like me.
And what kind of opportunities can people have get into as an intern at Co-op? What kind of things do you get to do?
It's pretty much all volunteer run. Our music library is volunteer run, our social media, our tech team. Anything you can think of, we need volunteer help.
Okay, great. What about you, Rick?
What's the question?
Oh, final thoughts. Any closing remarks?
Gosh. Keep the faith and don't take it personally.
Confucius, what do you got to say?
Well, just, I'm honored to be on the panel with all you guys. It's always good to be around other radio people. No final words, just this was fun. It's always good answering radio questions because everybody seems to have a million of them. So hopefully everybody that asked me questions was tuned in tonight.
And Sharon, anything that you want to say for parting words?
I just agree with Confucius. Glad I was invited to the panel. Glad KAZI I was involved in. Hey, for all the artists, if you have something you want to submit, just send it over, do your homework, and good luck. If it's good, we'll play it.
Well, thank you so much to everybody. We really appreciate your participation and all the great information that you shared with everybody. It really does make a big difference. So thank you so much, and be safe and have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.